Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Michael Bartnick from Software Solutions Group. Today is part two in a multi-part series about Dynamics GP navigation. Today we'll be getting into the Dynamics GP screens and taking a look at the different icons and options when you're navigating within GP. To start off, I'm already logged into Dynamics. I'm in the Sales series, and I'm going to start off with some information on the customer card to show a bunch of different navigation topics here. The first thing to point out is that at the very top we have what's called the ribbon bar in Dynamics GP. This ribbon bar can display like you see here with the large icons, or it can be shrunk down into a more traditional style menu bar in your user preferences. On the customer card, we can use a lookup, which is lookup, as you'll see is a magnifying glass here, is all over GP on your different cards and transactions. Anytime you need to look up a piece of information, you'll be prompted with this lookup screen. As you can see, it has a list of our customers. Currently, it's sorted by our customer ID. If I hit the customer name column, it resorts based on the customer name, and you can see up here in the top portion, it says find by customer name, where previously said find by customer ID. So I can change the option of how I'm searching for my customer. If I start typing in and I tab, it automatically goes to the first customer it finds that matches my search. I can do additional sorts by clicking the additional sorts column heading. If I wanted to search by customer class, I can click that, and I can come to the top now and search by Canada, and it has my customers in the Canada customer classes. If I need to have a more refined search, I can click the advanced search option, which is the icon with binoculars. And from the search customer screen, I can select different columns related to the customer and search specifically on that. So if I wanted to search on the city, I can select city, hit OK, and say equal to New York City. And then hit OK to resort my search. Also from the lookup screen, when you've found the customer that you want, customer or piece of information that you wanted to select, all you'll need to do is simply either select the record and hit select, or you can double click on the record to load it into the customer card. Another way to navigate between records in a customer card example is at the very bottom left hand corner you have scroll icons, so you can go to your first record, previous record, next record, or last record. So if I hit the scroll bar, you'll see the customer card changes as it scrolls through by customer ID. I can change my scroll option if I select the drop down, I can change that to class ID, and you'll see now when I scroll, it's actually scrolling based on the customer ID over class ID over here. The next thing to point out on this screen that we have available is any field that has a blue underline is actually a hyperlink, which will take us to another screen in GP using the field that's entered in on the screen. So we can go to the customer address card by clicking the address ID field, which pulls up the customer address maintenance screen for the specific customer that I'm looking at, and using the address ID that was filled in on the customer card. And you can see even on the customer address maintenance, we have more hyperlinks to other screens that we could drill into. On the customer card, we have an internet addresses field screen that we can click into. It's a little globe icon. And from here, this is where we'd set up our email addresses if we're using Word templates to email our customers. Also on this screen, there's this option is a mapping icon. When we click on this icon, it opens up a separate internet browser with Bing Maps to map out your customer's address. At the very top, if we're using document attachment in Dynamics GP, when we have this paperclip, just appearing as it is here without any paper behind it, that shows that there's nothing attached to this document currently. If I click on the attach, I can browse to, I can attach a document. I'll just attach something from my program files. I'll attach my template generator. And I'll hit OK. And now my attachment screen changes as it has a little paper clip with a paper behind it. That signifies to me that there is a document attached to my customer. I'm actually going to go in here and take that, delete that one off. So that is it for the customer card. Now I'm going to take you into the sales transaction entry screen to show you a couple of additional pieces of information. So I'm just going to pull up an order. And there's a couple things on here, a couple of different icons on this screen that weren't available on the customer card to show you. The first thing I'd like to demonstrate is these little blue arrows that you see popping up all across the screen. That's known as an expansion button in GP. If I click on the expansion button in any of these locations, it opens up another screen for me that it's related to. So I just clicked on the expansion button for batch ID, and it took me to the sales batch entry screen. Also on this screen, because it's a transaction entry screen, we have details to enter in for our sales transaction. And on these details, they're entered in on a grid format. At the top of my grid, I have a delete icon, an insert row icon, and an icon that looks like a little chevron, which shows my details. So when I have a line selected and I click this Show Details button, it changes the detail grid to show me more information about the one line that I have selected. And when I have one line selected in this Show Details view, I can click the Next and Previous buttons to scroll between the lines. And I can always go back to the chevron, click Hide Details to go back to the grid format. And again, you see on this screen, we have the Attach button appearing on our ribbon and also our column headings. And you'll see on those column headings, we still have the hyperlinks to other screens within GP. Also on this screen, you'll see that there's an Add Note field. So there's two types of notes you can add in GP. You can add a note that is specific to the window, or you can add a record level note. So a record level note, if I go next to my order number, is this icon button right here. The record level note will store the note, the piece of information, with whatever you're entering it against. So in this case, an order. The note will live with the order for the life of the order. So this is a record level note about order ORD ST2226. And that's attached. And you see now it changes the icon, and it's now highlighted in yellow to show that there's a note attached. Whereas a window level note, if I click this icon in my ribbon bar, you'll see at the very top says Sales Transactions Entry. So this window level note will always be attached to the window that we have open. So whenever I open up the Sales Transaction Entry window, this note will be attached. So I hit attach, and now my open note screen changes the icon. Also next to the open note, you'll see that there's a help button. You can get context sensitive help about the GP window that you have open, you can also press the F1 key on your keyboard, and that opens up the help screen with information specific to the screen that you're looking at. So in this case, it opened up the sales transactions entry window help. I can click on the fields link to get more information about any field on the screen if I have a question about what one of the fields means, or I can click the buttons to get information about the buttons on the screen as well. So it's a very handy thing to use the help if you don't know everything on the field and you have a question about it. At the very top, you'll see that there is an icon for print and email, so you can use the print button here to print your invoice or your order confirmation. We'll go into printing a little bit deeper in an additional session. And emailing, if you have Word templates set up to email your customers, you'll hit the email button to send that off. In the ribbon, we have a Go To button. And this Go To button is actually a drop down with options to go to other screens that are related to what you're looking at. So I can go to user-defined screen, and this is user-defined that are related to this order. It opens up, so you'll see go-tos in different areas of GP. You'll also see additional, which is similar to the go-to. It will open up additional screens in GP related to what you're looking at. The view option in our ribbon bar, if we are using multi-currency, we can switch the view from functional to originating currency. So this is just a single currency operation right here. So there's not much to show. And in this particular example, we have an actions button. So if there's actions that you can perform against your transaction, so on a sales transaction, we can transfer it to an invoice, we can purchase it, we can copy it and delete it. All of those actions live on this actions drop-down button. I'd like to now, I'm going to save my changes. I'd like to now go to an inquiry screen to give you a little bit more information on here on GP screens that you can't see on a customer card or a transaction. So I'm pulling up one of my favorite customers. And the first thing to show you is there's this redisplay button. So in GP, if I change my parameters on my inquiry screen, I need to hit refresh or redisplay to refresh the screen, my detail grid, to get my information. So if I just I change from open to just work, I hit redisplay, it changes the screen. It doesn't do it automatically when I change my parameters on the screen. Also, while looking at the screen, similar to what we saw on the transaction entry detail screen, there was a chevron button to show details. On the inquiry screen, you'll see that there's a similar chevron buttons to show details and hide details. When I click the show details, this row expands into 2 lines for this one transaction. So I have a document number for $10, which is actually on 2 lines to show me the 2 lines of detail that correspond with the 2 header lines. So the origin, type, document number, check number, document amount correspond to the first line on the detail where it says work, SLS, MTB1234, and $10, whereas the second header line corresponds with the second line that shows me my document date and due date. So that is it for today's session. Please join us again when we go into session 3, where we talk a little bit more about GP reporting.